I guess it's human nature to look for better things, right? To look for safety, to look for progress, for better places. And it's human nature because my dad took us here. My dad took us to Idaho, um, which I'm very thankful for. He gave us more opportunities, and so that's one of the good aspects of growth, opportunities. You know, we grow more efficient as a society. We, I mean, our medicine is so much better than what we used to have 100 years ago. Our technology, our phones, we are way more efficient. We have Google. If we have a question, we can just Google it, which is really cool. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, if I had a question, I would go to my parents, but they were my Google. But now I just have a phone to Google things. That's the good thing about progress, to grow, but we need to do it smartly, and we need to remember what made us happy in the first place. The simple things. We as humans don't need a lot to be happy. I think we can learn from this pandemic, not only to appreciate what we have, but also to kind of learn how to do things better, to give space to nature, to give space to animals.
Mm, for sure. Yeah, that's one thing that strikes me a lot. You know, you think um, so much is, you know, there's these systems in place and they just, you know, they just kind of keep going every day. And who would think that, you know, something like this, like beyond our power, would just kind of be able to stop all of those things to where we could actually question it and think about, okay, is what we're doing today really good? Is it not? You know, and can we think of a way to move forward differently? Yeah. I want to ask you a series of questions, and I really want to know what you think from your heart, like where you see these things. Because that's one of the things that um, I really want to learn about is how are people in whatever the surroundings might be, how are they able to kind of look inside, if you will, and then see something uh, that's beneficial to them? So here's the questions.
Hmm.
And if
Hmm.
you need time to think about each one, that's okay. But I'm going to ask the first one. Here it is. In who or where in your life have you seen cruelty?
Who or where have I seen cruelty? It's a good question. I think cruelty is when you don't give any hope to somebody, when you're just being, you know, bad to someone who might be otherwise innocent. I think I have seen cruelty in some places. When I when I came back to Mexico, it had been many years. I came back to my house in Mexico, and we had a neighbor, and we from upstairs we can see their backyard, and we saw a dog. So it turns out our neighbor travels a lot. So she was not there at the time. This poor dog, he was covered in hair and dirt, and there were some rats around there as well, and he didn't have any food. So we were shocked when we saw that. I think that's cruelty when you don't consider somebody else's health, um, especially if they're innocent. They don't have to be innocent, but when you don't give help to somebody, that's cruelty, and that's when I saw cruelty.
All right. So, next question. In who or where in your life have you seen beauty?
Um, well, I've seen beauty everywhere. I see beauty in nature, in animals, humans, kindness. Kindness is beauty to me. Um, when we are selfless, that's when I see beauty. When we work as a community in unity, that's beauty to me. I mean, you can have a bad experience and just be bitter about it, and then maybe you want I don't know, later on give that bad experience to someone else, or you can think, get that bad experience and think about it, reflect on it, and don't want to wish anybody else the same thing. That's when you start being selfless, and that's when you start thinking about other people, your community, the world. So I feel like if we can be selfless, if we just care about one another, we have so much beauty as humans, um, and we can be so. If we're all selfless, we can change the world for us, for humans. We can, create something beautiful, a really beautiful community, not only for us, but if we're selfless for the earth itself. We began talking about the earth, so I'm gonna end talking about the earth as well.
I love it. All
Yeah,
right. In who or where have you seen courage?
courage. Uh, they say, I like this quote, so I'm gonna give it to you. A quote says somebody said that courage is the lack. It's not the lack of fear. It is having fear, but knowing that there's something more important that's gonna make you face that fear. That's courage. So when I was in high school, I used to be really shy, and so I was afraid to go to the lunch break because I knew that I had anxiety that after getting lunch I was gonna sit down by myself, and I wasn't gonna just be lonely. I was gonna be lonely and not talking to anyone else. So I used to just not eat. I used to go to the library and study instead of going to lunch. Um, but one time I was hungry and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to lunch. So I went there. And so I was just sitting there by myself, kind of awkward. I was kind of awkward. Um, but then somebody sat down next to me to talk to me. So he was sitting with his friends, but then he saw that I was lonely there. So he sat down next to me to talk to me, to get to know me. Um, so I really appreciated that we became friends and we're still friends.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. All right, here's two more. Uh,
Hmm.
in who or when have you seen justice?
Justice. That's a complicated one. That's a complicated one. Um, Justice is, it can be kind of. It depends on who you talk to. They're gonna say this is just, and but there are times where something we can all agree that something is justful. I mean, we see it in movies all the time. We all cheer for the hero, right? They did something bad to him, and he you know he needs to fix that, somebody helps him fix that, and we get to the justice, right? Justice to me was when I come from Mexico, and well, living here in the US, I have seen many perspectives, about people crossing the border. I know it's a really complicated subject, a really complicated topic, a really touchy subject. And so I can tell you, let me tell you about, so when I was in Mexico, they call it the other side, crossing the border, they call it the other side, the north. Um, so my family, my uncles, when I was growing up in Mexico, I heard stories about them crossing the border. They came back with stories, many stories, and um, so so if they got caught, they would take them back to the U.S. But it's really dangerous. I mean, there are many people who want to hurt them as well throughout the way getting to the U.S. Um, but being able to go to the U.S. and being able to work for their family, that was and then being able to that was illegal. But then being forgiven by by the government and maybe becoming a citizen. That was kind of justice to me, because I was hearing, I grew up with that perspective, um, and so that was my justice, being able to help those people. I do understand the frustration of other people. N- People who grew up in the U.S. and who have a more conservative view or another type of view than me, they might agree that that's not their justice. That's somebody else's justice. That's my justice. To them, it'd be just if we just don't let anybody in the U.S. But to me, um, well, I grew up with that perspective. When I came here, now I see multiple perspectives. And I know where they're coming from. I know where people who don't want more people crossing the border uh, come from, and I do understand their own justice. Um, and you know, so when you come to that, when you have two justices, I think it's better to get to a middle ground. So kind of get them. Uh, I like to. So it's good to understand each other. Uh, so many people don't want immigrants to come to the U.S. But what they don't see, and this is the perspective of the immigrants, is that applying for the U.S. is a 10-year process, and you have to pay $1,000. And even if you apply, there's no guarantee that they're gonna give you a visa. And these people come from you know tough situations. They don't have a lot of money for their families. The government doesn't help them, so they're desperate. They're desperate, and for them, there's no easy way to get to the U.S. and there's no efficient way to get to the U.S. legally. Uh, they have to wait a long time. They have to pay a big amount of money that they don't have, and they have to you know wait because there's no guarantee that you're gonna get a visa. Um, so many workers who are desperate for their families, they cross the border. Um, they find a way to cross the border, and it's illegal. Um, but then they come back and they bring money to their families. Um, and if the U.S. forgives them for that and then lets them work there, you know, legally paying taxes, and then that's my justice. That was my justice, I guess. I have multiple perspectives now. Yeah, yeah. Right now, I work in a place where I help people. I help dropouts, high school dropouts. I help them get their high school diploma, and kind of motivate them to pass high school. And if not, we get them into a GED program where they get their GED. Um, but the other thing we do is we give out food boxes to the farm workers. Um, and in this I just started about it's been like 6 months, 7 months. But I have had a lot of interactions with farm workers who are all immigrants. Um, and so what I'm noticing right now is that in the coronavirus pandemic, is that even though they're so discriminated by their actions and by who they are by so many Americans, uh, they're still an essential part of um, our economy. Without them, just thinking about this, with if they don't work, especially during this pandemic, if they don't work, we're not gonna have food to eat, and they it's kind of hard to see how they they work so much and they're so essential to us, to our, to, they basically put food in our tables, and to be so not appreciated, that's unjustful to me. Mm, it'd be, uh, I guess it'd be justful if we appreciate them more, if we recognize how essential they are to our economy, um, and kind of appreciate them more. Give them treat them less harshly. Uh, Give them legality, being able to work here legally. Uh, I mean, they don't even have benefits. Uh, I have they don't have medical benefits. They don't have. They can't right now they can't even go to. You know how there are many programs that help people who are struggling. There are many nonprofits, many government agencies that kind of help people when they're struggling. They give out food boxes, they give out other services. And what's sad is that these farm workers can't even go there. They can't even reach out for help because they're so afraid that they're gonna get caught, and then they're gonna, not be able to work here anymore. So especially during this pandemic, they have no protection like we do. They don't have any benefits. They don't have medical benefits. They can't stop working. They're still working right now. They're wearing masks, and they, yeah, they are being, you know, they're being tough. They gotta work. They don't have any other choice but to work, unfortunately, to be able to survive. Um, without all these other benefits. Um, and they're putting food in our table for us who do have benefits, who do have all these resources, these government resources. So I feel like even at, especially at this time, I feel like we need to appreciate them, take care of them, and kind of recognize much they help us, how much. I mean, we have tomatoes at our house. We have potatoes, we have onions, we have vegetables, we have meat. Thanks to them, especially during this pandemic, we really need to value their work. I think, and that would be my justice, according to my perspective. Um, I know that it wouldn't be somebody else's justice. I think many people would disagree with me because I grew up in Mexico, so I kind of know where they're coming from, and I also work with them currently. So that would be my justice. I'm sure that if we make a movie and they're the protagonist, then I'm sure many people would agree that giving them more benefits and helping them out a little bit more would be justful. Yeah.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing all that. I have
Um,
one
uh,
kind of wrap up question. So thinking
yeah.
about all these things, so we're going to think about justice, courage, kindness, and beauty. If you had to say where all of these things come from, where do they originate? What is their source? What do you think?
I think it's selflessness. Yeah. I think it's being selfless towards other people. Um, it's human nature to think about our own safety, our own protection. But I think it's our duty to think about, to serve other people, to serve the ones who need it the most. Um, I think that's our goal as human beings, to kind of spread selflessness, to kind of spread that that drive to help each other. Um, yeah, I think it's selflessness, and I think it's love for our world. That's the drive through all of that. And with that comes willingness to understand each other. in many occasions we close our minds, our ears to other perspectives, to other ways of thinking. I think it's good to appreciate where everybody comes from, and to try to understand how they think like that and where they're coming from, and how we can uh, join our way of thinking, how we can unite our goals, how we can unite uh, our interests and other people's interests. We need to find things we share, and we need to find a way to make our differences less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you, Alexis. Beautiful thoughts. Thank you so much
Oh,
for joining me here. And I hope you guys enjoy this interview. And I appreciate
thank you.
your thoughts.
Infinite. This love is heaven sent. Peace to the superficial for the permanent. Cause the
greatest gift a man